I've taught I counted recently, I taught at exactly 50 different Unity churches in the U.S., more than 150 times. And I say that because this was the first time in all of those 150 times that I ever heard God chanted during the service like you just did. And also the first time that everyone in the service had a chance to do this community prayer. It's beautiful, really. So, applaud yourselves. George Burns, who got a lot of applause in his life, actually, and who played God in the movies not once but twice, said, and this is a quote, he said, "The secret of a good sermon is to have a good beginning and a good ending, and to have the two as close together as possible." So I'll do my best, okay? About 100 years, a little more than 100 years ago, an Austrian psychiatrist named Sigmund Freud revolutionized the world's thinking by proposing that things that happen in our childhood actually wind up affecting our adult life. It was considered a revolutionary idea at the time, and of course now it's considered part of our normal understanding of life. Yet despite this resistance that he had, now, as I said, it's been assimilated as far as understanding of relationships are concerned, but it's amazing to me how little awareness there is in our culture that what we learn in our childhood about money actually has a long-term effect on our adult life as well. Why should money be any different from relationships, since we learn both of those in our childhood? The answer, in a word, is there isn't. Actually, that's two words, but it's all right. So I want to talk a little bit about the relationship between what we learn in childhood and our adult life. You probably never did the math on this, but you most likely ate about 20,000 meals under your parents' roof, depending on when you left your parents' roof. That means you were exposed thousands and thousands of times to discussions about money, often, unfortunately, arguments. You were probably exposed to some limiting beliefs about money thousands of times from what we called financial advisors, who really weren't financial advisors, they were our parents. But when we were small and they were big, they knew everything. And so we took it as a matter of course that what they said was true. And then through a kind of psychological osmosis, we came to accept these beliefs about money as facts of financial life, because these were the people who we looked up to out of loyalty and out of love. So, as you grew up, you may not have done anything, or next to nothing, to change those beliefs, because after all, those are the ones we learned from our parents. Let me give you an example close to my life about deciding to make changes about those things or not making changes of those things. My parents had a belief, and you might think back and see if your parents said something similar, that they had bad luck. In fact, my last name is Bayer. They named it Bayer luck.
Oh no!
Yeah, really. And of course I'm small, so I assume that that's the way life is. So their idea was that no matter how much, their belief was that they had to worry a lot, and a lot of sweating about things, and a lot of struggle around things, and that chances are if something bad could happen, it would happen. Sort of a Murphy's Law, Bayer luck kind of synthesis, you know? Now I have a brother, one sibling, my brother Jeff, and he still believes this, actually. He still believes this. Of course he believes this because if you don't do anything about what you grow up with, you will naturally, it will become part of your subconscious life. So he believes too that he has Bayer luck, and he has taught it to his 3 daughters. Now, if you know anything, and I know this congregation certainly does, about the law of attraction, you know that what you believe you tend to bring to your experience. And that applies not only to the conscious thoughts you think, the holy choices we make as we just discussed earlier, but also to those thoughts that are not conscious, what we would call subconscious. And so unless we do something to shift what is not conscious, those thoughts will also attract realities to them. So when my parents, who had this belief in what they called Bayer luck, ran up against some bad luck, or had to sweat out something that they truly wanted, the conscious mind of my mother and the conscious mind of my father would say something along the lines of, see, there's Bayer luck again. And that, of course, then reinforces the belief, so that, as you know, what you believe you tend to create, so then it strengthens that sense of bad luck and it attracts more to it. Now, the thing about the subconscious part of the mind is that it's below the surface. And unless we put some attention to shifting that, transforming that, that too will have its effects. Now, unlike my brother, who didn't apply the exercises in one of the books I wrote called The Prosperity Aerobics, which I actually gave him, but I don't think he's actually worked on it to change his financial system, because he still has that experience in his career of what he would call Bayer luck. It's taken some time to make those shifts, and I know I've been working on it. I started working on this in 1987, and it's amazing what happens when you do make those choices. We heard earlier about holy choices, but the truth is that every choice we make is available to us at every moment, and we can choose whatever we want at any moment. We're free. But it does take, changing belief systems, it doesn't involve any perspiration, but it can involve inspiration. So, as I say, unlike my brother, I chose to make some changes about this so-called luck. And what I discovered was that it works. It really does work. Mm-hmm. So now, as a result, I live in South Florida 7 months a year in an oceanfront condo, and in the mountains of Woodstock, New York for 5 months, and I look at the mountains. Now, I don't say this to brag or anything. I say this because my brother's experience is that that luck is continuing because he didn't make any choices to change it. And I don't want to use the word luck, but whatever word you want to give it, has changed because they did make choices. So even though we're born into the same family, we have the choice to do something about what we were exposed to. Now, Bayer luck wasn't the only negative belief that I was exposed to about money as a child, and I'm sure all of you were probably exposed to some others as well. Now, I don't have to be remember years ago there was a psychic entertainer named Kreskin? How many people remember Kreskin? Yeah, he was called the Amazing Kreskin, not the modest Kreskin, the Amazing Kreskin. And I don't have to be a psychic to know the word that is in your mind when I say the following sentence, and I'm going to leave the last word blank, okay? Now, if I had a board, I would write up on the board, but what we'll do is we'll all say it at the same time, and I'm pretty sure we're all going to say the same word. What I'm referring to is something that you were taught as a child by your parents. So I'm going to say the sentence, I'm going to leave the last word blank, and I've noticed that this applies not just in the United States, but around different parts of the world as well, because I've had students from different parts of the world, and they all say the same word. Okay, I'm going to say the sentence, I'm going to leave the last word blank, I'm going to count to 3, and on the count of 3, I'd like you to say the word that your parents told you that would fill the end of that sentence. I'll say it out loud too, and I think it's going to be the same word. Okay? All right, you ready? Your parents taught you, they said, don't take money from, don't say it yet, don't take money from on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Strangers. Oh, there it is. There it is. Kreskin. See, you can do it also. The thing is, I don't have to be psychic to know that, because this is a universally taught message. And it wasn't just strangers. Your parents also taught you, our parents all taught us, not to take money from family, and we were taught not to take money from friends. So let's do the math, okay? You're not allowed to take money from strangers. You're not allowed to take money from family. and you're not allowed to take money from friends. So I ask you, thank you, who is left? And as far as I could tell, it has to be someone you know, but it can't be anybody you like. The answer is known enemies. And that's who unconsciously we turn our bosses into. Known enemies. In other words, we feel it's okay to take a paycheck from them as long as we have created some kind of adversarial relationship, which is one of the reasons why so many people you hear complaining about their bosses, complaining about their customers or their clients or whoever it is gives them money. You know, I've been to Norwalk a number of times, but I don't know the area well, but I'm going to guess that within a 20-minute drive, you will run across an internationally successful restaurant chain which is dedicated to the fact that people don't like what they do for money. And that, you probably think, well,
McDonald's?
No. It's called TGI Fridays. And of course you remember what TGI stands for. They took that out. Thank God it's Friday, right? Why? Because that means we don't have to work anymore. We don't have to do whatever we do for money. And does anybody know when the greatest concentration of heart attacks and strokes occurs in the United States? Monday morning around 9 o'clock. That's right. So, yeah, you can see the relationship here. This is what's called a dysfunctional relationship to money as a culture, because we all learn these things as children. So, what do? Well, you know, we have on our every single piece of American currency. You can look in your purse, your wallet, your change in your pockets. Every single piece says the following. Does everybody know what it says?
In God we trust.
It says, "In God we trust." In other words, we have in our financial system an understanding of the divine. But if, as a child, instead of being surrendering to the Almighty Divine, if you saw your father, let's say on Sunday you saw him surrender to the Almighty Divine, but on Monday through Friday he surrendered to the Almighty Dollar, you might have had a different understanding about money and spirit. Or if your mother gave up her dream of launching a certain business just to get a job to help support the family, you probably got some different ideas. So it was probably fear and a lack of the faith that we saw here today that drove them in that direction. But what may have resulted for you was an awareness that money and spirit and the spiritual were somehow very separated. Okay? Now, these messages were in our unconscious or subconscious minds. Do you remember years ago, before CD players came into being, we had what we used to call audio cassette players, right? And do you remember how they often would run on auto reverse, right? As soon as this first side ended, the second side began, and then the first side. If you didn't leave, I mean, if you left your home, it would just keep going and going and going. Like that, so are the messages that we've learned. So what we need to do is to make a choice, a holy choice, to either be in those limiting messages or be in the unlimited messages. The limited messages were what we learned from our parents. The unlimited messages are what we learn from the Almighty Father and Mother Divine. So I'm going to share a few of these, what I'll call unlimited messages. They're on my CD on magnetizing money. I'm going to share 5 of them, and what I'd like to do is repeat each one 3 times. So we begin to plant that seed, a new seed in our consciousness. The first one, I can make an abundance of money doing what I love. I can make an abundance of money doing what I love. I can make an abundance of money doing what I love. I can make an abundance of money doing what I love. I attract money easily. I attract money easily. I attract money easily. I attract money easily. And this is for the spenders out there. You ready? My income now and always greatly exceeds my expenses. My income now and always greatly exceeds my expenses. My income now and always greatly exceeds my expenses. My income now and always greatly exceeds my expenses. Yes, indeed. My connection to infinite supply is more than enough to prosper me. My connection to infinite supply is more than enough to prosper me. My connection to infinite supply is more than enough to prosper me. My connection to infinite supply is more than enough to prosper me. And lastly, my heart's dreams now come true, and money miracles are among them. My heart's dreams now come true, and money miracles are among them. My heart's dreams now come true, and money miracles are among them. My heart's dreams now come true, and money miracles are among them. Now, wouldn't it have been nice if this is what we learned going to bed at night, right? Instead of whatever else we were heard, you know? Our parents did the very best they could with the information they had. Now, through your exposure to unity, to hearing some of these affirmations, we can make that holy choice that exists in every moment to either be with the old ideas that have gotten us to where we are now, or the newer ideas, that is to say, the limiting beliefs or the unlimited beliefs. I think I know which choice you'd like to make. But it is a choice, and it does take attention and a little bit of awareness. That's why I call this prosperity aerobics, in a sense, because they're like little exercises that we can do. You know, we work out our bodies all the time, but do we work out our consciousness? And here's an opportunity to work out our consciousness so that our relationship to money can be healthy and abundant. The truth of the matter is, it's said in Scripture that we're made in the image of God. In other words, made in the image of that which is infinite. We're made in the image of that which is infinite. Buckminster Fuller, some years back, the great 20th century Renaissance thinker, said that there are enough resources on earth for every single human being alive to be a millionaire. That's how vast the resources are. So what's happened, what's blocking us, is simply our disconnection from the abundance that is within us. In the workshop that I'll be giving this afternoon, it's called How to Discover and Use Your Money Mantra. Now you probably think, well, what's a money mantra? I've meditated, I know what a mantra is, but I know what money is, but I've never put the two together. Well, a money mantra, or I should say your money mantra, because it's really customized to you based on your childhood training, is a very positive and very powerful affirmation designed to offset what I call your family money lie. Your family money lie is made up of the most negative message about money that you learn from your mother and the most negative message you learn from your father about money. When you put the two together, you get what's called your family money lie. The money mantra transforms that. So that's something that that's the major piece from the class this afternoon. Now, as you heard earlier, I taught meditation since I'm 20 years old, which is now 10 years already. Okay. All right. 15 years, I'll give you that. And so I've seen the power that mantra has in terms of transforming consciousness. But when you combine that with money, or as I say, when you make a money mantra, its ability to transform the old patterns, the old way of thinking from the childhood, get a chance to get transformed. It's really, really quite lovely to watch. So that's what will be happening here today from 12:30 to 3. One thing I'd like to share with you, and that is, oh, by the way, I'll also show you how to use it so you can practice this on a daily basis for 10 minutes a day, and you'll see the difference it makes in your prosperity and your financial life. I'd like to leave you with one thought, or not just a thought, but a technique. And that is a way to bring more enthusiasm into your life, because you know enthusiasm brings opportunities to you. In fact, enthusiasm has been singled out by many, and actually most people who've ever succeeded in anything, as an absolutely essential quality for success in whatever you do. And the reason is the word comes from the Greek word entheos. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the root theo? How about theo? Which means
God.
God, right. Like theology is the study of God. Entheos means God lively within you. So when you have enthusiasm, it means that that spirit, the most powerful vibration in the universe is lively in you. The most loving vibration in the universe, the most attractive vibration in the universe is lively in you. So when you have enthusiasm, people are drawn to you. And guess what? So too is money. It's interesting. So I'd like you to be able to have more enthusiasm, so I want to share the technique with you. It takes only 1 minute. I learned it from a great teacher who studied with Napoleon Hill for 13 years. Familiar with Napoleon Hill, many of you? Wrote a great book called Think and Grow Rich. He studied for 20 years under the mentorship of Andrew Carnegie. He studied people like Edison and Ford and Theodore Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, real giants. And he found that many of them did this technique. The way it works is very simple. You stand in front of a mirror at home for a minute by yourself. You don't want your teenager watching you. You don't want your dog watching. Your dog will probably bark at you. And your cat might even wet the rug. So do it alone. And we say that seeing is believing. When you see your reflection coming back at you, alive, that powerful energy and vibration, we say seeing is believing. When you see that, you begin to have a different sense of who you are and what you are. Okay? Because what we are is spirit made manifest. That's what we really are. So since everything is God anyway, and when you realize that you are spirit, then your ability to attract everything to you goes up enormously. So here's how it works. So you say the word enthusiasm, but not like enthusiasm, but enthusiasm! Make sure not to do that in the microphone. I won't blow it out there. To learn it, you don't really need to use the mirror at first, but there is one if you'd like to. So what I'd like us to do is, like dough, I'd like you to rise, okay? And for half a minute, I'd like you to say the word enthusiasm, but with enthusiasm. And I'll go around the room, and if you're holding back, I will find you. Okay, and remember, how you do this is how you do your financial life. It's how you do your life. So have fun with it. Men usually have a little bit more of a challenge, you know, because we're taught to kind of keep everything under control. Have fun with this, guys. Just let it go. Okay, you ready? We'll do half the amount of time. And notice how you feel now. You'll notice that the quality, the vibration in the room will soon change in about a half a minute. So notice how you feel. Notice the energy in the room. And in half a minute, that will change, I promise. Okay? As they say in Texas, y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Enthusiasm! Wow. Well, do you feel more alive?
Yeah.
Do you feel the difference in the room? Yes. It works. A minute a day in front of the mirror, it makes a huge difference. I want to thank Shawn and everyone here for having me here again, and it's been a pleasure. From 12:30 to 3, if you can't make it, have a little table over there, and the technique that I teach in the class is in the book, the Prosperity Aerobics, so if you'd like to take that, you can do that. I wish you the very best, and I honor the abundance and the infinite that is you, and always will be you.
Yeah, thank you.